Okay, we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Drooms webinar. It looks like I'm reporting from heaven, I get it. But actually, this is the sun overshadowing our appearances this morning. But we decided we're not going to deprive you from this lovely, lovely sunny day in London. And the reason it's so white behind me is because we have an amazing view behind us, which we're going to share today throughout the webinar. And we hope you enjoy it, because equally, we're going to be sharing the screen in a second anyway. My name is Rosanna Woods. I'm Managing Director of Drooms in the UK, and I'm accompanied today by my lovely colleague, Michelle Pocoy, who is one of our project managers in the international team.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today.
Okay, perfect. So today we're going to focus on Drooms Portfolio, which will close the circle from our previous webinars. Drooms Portfolio is a tool dedicated to the entire investment lifecycle. The product is called Drooms Portfolio, but actually that's only one use case. So of course, clients are using the tool to manage portfolios, but they also manage it for a variety of different investments and setups. Usually our clients actually manage entire funds on the Drooms Portfolio platform. So they'll have the whole fund set up and then all the investments within. So those who tuned in for the last webinar would have actually seen Drooms Transaction. Me and Michelle presented it quite extensively, especially the Q&A capabilities. However, Drooms Transaction is actually more aimed at the due diligence process and disposal of assets. So today we're actually going to take a couple of steps back and look at how you can standardize your processes from the moment of acquisition throughout the hold phase, ultimately leading you to that disposal process. So that's how we close the circle. Because we're taking a few steps back, we'll also take a few steps back in explaining out who we are, because where do we actually get this experience from? So Drooms has 20 years of experience in the market with a particular expertise in the real estate industry. So from all these engagements with our clients, it was pretty clear that they need more than a disposal data room. So we spoke to many asset and investment managers over time to really identify what are their challenges and also what are their needs throughout the life cycle of their investments. So everyone knows when you're acquiring, you go through the whole buying process and then you're confronted with the handover of the archive. That's a data set that can be structured or unstructured, and it's definitely not standardized. So you could be buying one asset here, an entire portfolio somewhere else. So by default, that can't be standardized. And what happens then? Do you merge them into another portfolio? Will you restructure the data? Will you assign responsibilities to the operating partners? They could be, it could be in multiple jurisdictions, different countries. So it's a very decentralized approach. What we offer at Drooms is real expertise. So we aim to centralize these activities, not only with cutting edge technology like the platform that we're going to show you in a couple of seconds, but also via our dedicated services teams. So these are people that have really many, many years of experience. They are specialized in assessing the structure of your data, the process of updating this on a regular basis, so really diving deep into the workflows, even sourcing missing documents if required. So that can often be the most challenging task, is really to identify and fill the gaps. So I know that I've said a lot now, but to back this up, and I promise I will, we're going to dive into the platform and we're going to give you a 20-minute general overview of Drooms Portfolio. At the end, as always, we'll allow 5 minutes for questions. If you could please post them via the question tool, then that would be great. So then we'll pick them up and make sure that we can answer these. So over to you, Michelle, for the demo part.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for joining, everyone. Let me start straight with the user experience. So I hope you can all see my screen. It's basically what's new in Drooms Portfolio. You might know the Drooms transaction data room. So you access the data room and you're accessing straight away the index structure that is displayed for you. Whereas in the portfolio, the single tiles, the single assets, as you can see here, are displayed under one umbrella. So generally speaking, it's the same look and feel. It's still very simple and easy. But to make it look nice and pretty, you can, for example, upload some expose images, add a description to make it, nice. So let's jump straight into our user section. This is where you manage the user groups and their access. I have set up already some asset managers and operating partners. By ticking the box here on the right-hand side, you grant them access to the asset. You can grant them access to one asset only, but also to several assets. And then if you open up the little triangle, you have a more detailed display of the permissions, and you can change them at any time. But we're going to speak about the permissions in a bit.
So this actually goes back to what I mentioned before about centralizing. Rather than you having to kind of set up different access permissions, different groups, different jurisdictions, different platforms where they're supposed to be accessing data, we believe that you can centralize it very simply, put them all on one platform, and then just choose which investment documentation they need to have access to, and just do it with a click.
Exactly. So I would like to mention a pain point that I've experienced in the past, because even if the users and the structure are set and the processes are clear, it still happens once in a while that the operating partners are not keeping the data set really up to date. And this is ultimately, of course, your problem, because even the best systems always require the discipline and the input of the teams. So we have a reporting section available right here that assists you. And very helpful is, for example, our processing history, where you can track the content manager's activity. You can run the report either for a specific asset, the wind park, for example, or several assets at a time, so wind park and shopping center. And then you could also use the filter to search for specific user groups, have a look at them, and then find out which operating partner has uploaded documents and who was really actively working in the data room. Okay, perfect. Let me jump back into my data room section. The bigger the portfolio, the more assets you have, and the easier you get lost. So we implemented a very strong search functionality that helps you, first of all, to find your assets. So you can search for specific assets right here, but also to search for keywords across all assets. So I am going to search for some lease documents now. You can see now here my search result. I have lease documents within my wind park data room, but also in the mansion. So I'm going to open this one right here. So this is actually the document I've been looking for. Perfect. If I click here on the little icon, I can access the data room, and it's in index structure straight away. So I have the index here on the left-hand side. I have my document displayed and my search result. Leases are 256 times within the document. What I could do now is to give you a quick introduction to the user experience. I could use the search bar and obviously also search for other keywords. I could, if I want to print or download my document, I could also add a note to myself, a little bookmark right here. So I highlight a specific section, and then right here, this is my bookmark. Save it and access it at any time. Other than that, let me also mention the findings quickly, which is the one right here. The difference to the bookmark is that when you create a finding, you can categorize it. So you can apply a category right here. You could even add a probability, a risk, or opportunity. If you want, you could add a value, and then also, if necessary, an action. And then you would just save it. And the big advantage compared to the bookmark is that in the end, you can create an export of your findings, of your results, and then, for example, share them with your team. All right, so this is a quick introduction to the user experience. Let us not lose too much time right here. There's a lot more to discover.
So if you don't mind, can you just go to the translation functionality, please?
Yeah.
So this is a really nice feature, and basically, if you're looking at cross-border investments and you actually have data sets in different languages, then this feature is really great for you, because you can basically translate in real time on the platform itself. So this is in-house built technology and very similar to Google Translate. So it's based on machine learning and is really intended to give you a gist of what the document's about in real time. So we're not saying it's legal translation, but it's very helpful to work your way through, especially foreign language data sets. Okay, so I think that was a really nice kind of user experience overview. What I think we should do is dive into a new asset, say when we just acquired. So what we currently do right now, and what I mentioned at the beginning, is that it's really essential that you standardize your approach to your investments. So this is in order to save you time and also save others from the team time. It's very well invested to sit down and think about how you should standardize your index structure. I'm not saying that the index structure will be identical on every investment, though it will require differences depending also on the asset class. However, it's very helpful if you know, for example, in folder 3 there's leases, or in folder 5 there's financing documentation. So that's what we do right now for our clients. That's what we've already been doing in the past. And this approach will really save time. I think it's best if you just show them quickly how you do that and how we set it up when an acquisition comes in.
Yep. All right. So once you acquired a new asset, the Drooms support team will create a new tile for you, which in my example is the corporate building. You would then just access it and upload the predefined index structure. So I'm just going to do that. Right click, upload, upload index, and then simply select the index template that is going to be displayed in a second. Perfect. All right. So now you can invite your operating partners, give them content management rights, and they can simply upload and update the document set by just dragging and dropping the content into the data room. So once you have your index structure ready, you just click here on the little icon, which is the little lock, and you set up the permissions for the user group, which is in my case, the operating partner in charge of the corporate building. And then you grant them the different permissions by just clicking on the icons. So they're going to have view, print, download rights. And then very interesting, obviously here, the content management rights, where we have 3 different kind of options. So you could either grant them the full content management rights. You could grant them the create only rights, meaning they could upload documents, but they would not be able to delete anything. Or that's the one I would go for, the create with approval. So basically you as an administrator, you keep control of the activities done by the operating partners, because you will get notified, the system will notify you once the operating partner uploads new files, and you have to accept and approve them before they actually go live into the data room.
Yeah, so this really ties up with what we've been kind of reiterating about standardization. By giving them the template of the index, you really make sure that they stick to your structure, your defined structure, and you're just giving them access to it. So it's a very simple way of keeping control and making sure that there's a structured approach to it. Okay, but this is what we've been doing now and what we've been doing in the previous years. But today, really wanted to take the opportunity in the webinar to talk about what are the real game changers and what have we been working on. This is a feature that is called auto allocation. And basically, we aim to increase even more productivity and efficiency by creating features and technology that really supports the real pain points. So auto allocation is the latest feature and basically allows you to dump in a load of files, which I'll allow Michelle now to show how it works, because I think it's best when it's shown on screen.
Yeah. So let me give you an example. So right here we have a by Drooms trained index structure. So files have been manually allocated by the backend team, and the system used the optical character recognition to read the content and then to understand why a specific file belongs to a specific index point. Like this, the system learned the connection and the context. And this allows us in the end to do the same with any file that has not even been named properly. So I'm going to show you, if I just right click here, I am going to allocate files. I am going to select my 2 files. And as you can see, they're probably scans, they're not really named properly. And then I just click on upload.
Those are awfully named files.
I know, sorry, what a mess.
Okay, but what we're seeing here now is basically that the system is uploading and auto-allocating. So it takes a couple of seconds to go through. But what you're seeing here is actually really, it's a system where you invest time in training the index, and then it will auto-allocate. So again, it's really well invested time. You can imagine it's a bit like a baby, a child that you're teaching, and it learns every 24 hours. There's a learning effect. And just imagine the time it saves. I think anyone that's had to deal with indexing before can really understand how precious this kind of feature can become to them, because it's also very demotivating. Within your company, of course, you don't want to always give the younger and fresh entries basically the horrible task of indexing. And that's why we really put a lot of work and effort in developing this kind of technology, because we see that this is something that's necessary. And nowadays, with the technology that's available, we have to take up the support and implement this into the tool. So I'll hand over for you to kind of just show how the auto allocation process is completing.
It's still loading, but you can simply just batch, drag and drop into the data room, and the trained algorithm will allocate the files then at the right spot. And in the end, you just review the results And then if you're happy with the result, you just accept it, or if not, you reject it. The files will end in the trash, and you would then just manually allocate them at the right spot.
That's then the learning effect that I mentioned. So if it goes into the trash, it knows, okay, so it wasn't allocated correctly. Let me learn where this document went. Maybe it's taking a couple of seconds. I mean, as mentioned before, it reads the content and then has to upload. So if it keeps them taking now to allocate, then we'll just come back to this section and show you how it worked. Yeah, I think that's probably best to do. In the meantime, what we can look at as well, so finally, we've been talking about the entire life cycle and how you can manage to keep your data set up to date throughout the hold phase. So what does this mean? If you have 3, 4, 5 years of holding period, then you'll probably have a very extensive data set, which is also the intention. So we want to have everything centralized, everything in one place. However, when you're actually planning then to dispose and go into the whole planning of the transaction, then you'll find that you probably have a much more extensive data set for the investment on Drooms portfolio than is required. So what you would then do is actually select the transaction relevant data, because in the deal you want to keep the data set slim. So firstly, it's you want to get through the deal as efficiently as possible, and it's also a cost element. So you want to keep that data set slim and only take out transaction relevant data. And for that, we've built a small workflow into the system. Again, we want it all to be available in one place for you to just have supporting workflows around you. Perhaps we can pop into that right now.
Yep. All right. So let me give you an example. I would like to dispose my wind park. So therefore, the data set obviously needs to be ready and up to date. Most likely, not all documents stored in the data room are really transaction relevant. Maybe there are even some documents missing. So as an asset manager in charge, you would then just go through your index structure and highlight the index point sections, folders that are really transaction relevant. So I'm going to select my folder number 1, folder number 2. I'm going to open up my folder number 1. And then you can see straight away the indicator right here shows the status. So I have a document available, so the status is ready. And then right here, status pending, no document available yet, empty index point.
So what the system here is actually doing, it's only matching up if there is a document available or not. It's by no means assessing, is it transaction relevant? Because that's also something that how would the platform know that? The technology is not there at this point, but it is a huge support because it's supporting the workflow of is it there, is it not there, and giving you that overview.
Exactly. And once we go back, and I just scroll down to my wind park. Just a second.
Is the platform letting you down?
No, it's just a bit too hot today. Okay, wind park, here we go. So once we're back in our tile view, we can now see a bar displaying the status. So you can see here, right, 8% of the transaction relevant documents, the documents you highlighted as transaction relevant, are available within the data room, and then the rest is obviously still missing. So this is a sign for us to chase our parties involved.
Yeah, it really makes the process so much easier. You don't have to look all over the place 3 years down the line for where are the documents. You find them all in one place. So if I want to now actually go into a disposal process, so I'm thinking about disposing, and can I just go back to the tile view, please?
Yes, sure.
So if I see there that, let's say the German hotel is 100% transaction ready, so is the shopping center, and I want to dispose of these 2 assets, what happens next?
So what we will do is we'll just create a transaction data room, which I already prepared here.
Surprise, surprise.
German hotel and shopping center. And we will just take all the transaction relevant content, set it up in a transaction environment. We set up the user groups for you, your advisors, potentially maybe even the bidders already. And then we're ready to configure the Q&A workflow with you.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it's important to reiterate here that we are again in the disposal process where we actually started off with Drooms transaction. And here you have a clean data room with only transaction relevant data of the assets that you want to dispose. All transaction relevant activities are monitored and recorded. And as always, these will then be added to the final archive, which is also then attached to the SPA when the deal is closed.
All right, let's just quickly jump back into our auto allocation.
Oh, sorry, you wanted to do that before, right?
The auto allocation has been completed. So let's just review our result. So I have this document right here in our strategy folder. and we're just going to review it and see if we're happy with what the system did. The optical character recognition is still reading through it, but yeah, perfect. Happy, cool, looks good. Our strategy obviously belongs to our strategy folder. Perfect, we would then just accept and confirm, and then just close it once again. We have a second example right here in our governance folder. Let's open up this one. Perfect. Wow, allocated at the right spot. Cool. Accept it, and here we're happy with.
Yeah, so as mentioned before, this is actually a real game changer. Imagine if you can just suddenly throw in a load of unindexed documents into the system and just allow the technology to support you on that task. Great, so I'm glad that actually now worked out, as the platform's probably also struggling with the heat, same as we are here in the sun. In general, the presentation wraps up our whole lifecycle approach and the offering of Drooms Portfolio. Currently, we're running a Drooms Portfolio campaign, which in a nutshell offers you a 3-month free trial of the platform and all the extended services worth up to 5,000 euros. Those are the services I mentioned before, that it's real expertise looking at your processes, your data sets, and showing you how to actually manage it better. We'd really look forward to hearing from you. Feel free to reach out after the webinar and share your requirements. Thank you very much for the demo, Michelle. That was really great. And I would now hand over to the floor for any questions. So I'm just going to pop into the question tab and see if there's any questions and go through anything that's still on your minds. So let me see, is there anything coming in? Looks like if you did a very extensive webinar and demonstration, Michelle. Okay, so if there's no further questions coming in, then we'd wrap up right here. We hope you have a lovely sunny day. We know that we've been overshadowed here by the background, but we thought this view is amazing and is probably even worth more than seeing us up close. We hope you found it interesting and look forward to being in touch. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Enjoy the view for another 2 minutes.